Hi everyone, my name is Junia and welcome to my ASMR channel. Today I want to tell you about a recent trip that I took to Georgia and Armenia. And when I talk about Georgia, it's a country, not a state in the US, guys. So that was a very nice, interesting, adventurous vacation, and this video is gonna be pretty long, but I hope you enjoy it. So we got to Georgia by van, one of those like mini buses. 20 hours road trip with the border crossing. It took us actually probably even more than 20 hours, and I wouldn't recommend it. We spent 3 hours at the Georgian border. Only 2 officers were working. It was hot and stuffy, and people were getting frustrated and snapping at each other, yelling. It wasn't fun at all. At some point I was joking, like telling my friend, at least we can understand what refugees feel like. It was tough. We quickly realized that we were not going to take the same way back. Originally the plan was to go to Armenia and then return by car too, but then it would take us even more than 20 hours. So we changed our minds and decided to fly back. We crossed the Georgian border at night, and when the sun came up in the next morning, honestly, I was stunned. The mountains looked absolutely magical. So green, so vast. I mean, you can see that. I've never seen the Alps in person, but I imagine they must look something like that. Look at me, I'm so sleepy and tired. I've seen mountains in other countries, in other regions, but the ones in northern Georgia, it was so beautiful. The most beautiful mountains I've ever seen. Our Armenian driver was very kind and cheerful. He would offer us coffee and just be very positive, and funny. I think most of these kinds of rides between the countries, like Russia and Georgia and Armenia, are run by Armenians, is probably because of the geography. Like, Armenians always have to cross Georgian borders to get to their country when they go to Russia and back, Russia and back. We got to our hotel in Tbilisi around like 11 a.m. I immediately passed out and slept until 6 in the evening or something. Later we went for a walk with Christina's friend. Now she's my friend too. Katya, she's been living in Tbilisi for 3 years now, and she knows the city very well. She showed us around, took us to cool local spots. She's a vegan. We ate vegan food. That was very nice. Honestly, the city surprised me. Tbilisi was so much greener and much more beautiful than I expected. Like these cute little balconies, lots of greenery, old streets. It feels a little bit like chaotic and peaceful at the same time. It felt very, very safe, and I guess according to the statistics, Tbilisi is very safe and has a very low crime rate. And it's also a very, very old ancient city. It was founded in 5th century and has been destroyed and rebuilt city's architecture is also a mix. You see Persian, Ottoman, Russian, European influence. The old town looks pretty similar to. Okay, again, I've never been to Italy, but it looks pretty similar. And there is even a street in the old town where there is a church, a mosque, and a synagogue, and they are like minutes from each other. Tbilisi is a very incredible blend of cultures and histories. And we had an interesting observation. In many Muslim countries, you see a ton of cats and on the street, but hardly any dogs, like in Istanbul, for example. But in Tbilisi, it's the other way around. There are so many street dogs, way more than cats. I'm not sure why, but it was interesting to notice. And the next day we explored the center of the city. I found this little flea market, and I bought a book about Ikigai, the Japanese philosophy of purpose and the meaning of life. I've heard a lot about it before, but wanted to dive deeper and look at these carpets. I want to have a lot of carpets in my future home, maybe even hang them on the walls like they used to do in Soviet Union. And talking about Georgian language, it's basically the only language that survived from their language group. Georgian is not an Indo-European language. It's a Kartveli group, from a Kartveli group language, very unique. And I mean, when you have a language like that, of course you should try to preserve it. My friend and I also bought matching Georgian cups. A bit silly, but fun. And later that night, we went to a bar and met a group of locals. One of them turned out to be a professional tour guide, and he ended up giving us a free city tour. Georgian hospitality. Every time they would, be very nice to us, we say no. They say, that's Georgian hospitality. Everyone we met was very sweet. And with younger people, we spoke in English. I think a lot of Georgian youth understand Russian, but they don't really want to use it. And of course, because of political reasons, also maybe because they don't feel confident speaking it without making mistakes. I might be wrong, but that's the impression I got. Here, something totally unexpected. We saw a piece of the Berlin Wall in the center of Tbilisi. On it, there is a Georgian inscription that says, "God is love." At least I think that's what it said. Kind of amazing that someone brought that all the way from Germany, right? And the next day we visited a friend who lives on the outskirts of the city. The neighborhood there reminded me a lot of Novorossiysk, my dad's hometown. The same old Soviet buildings, mountain views in the background, fruit markets. And although honestly the buildings in Tbilisi were in worse condition than anything I've seen in my region, I know there are more run-down Soviet buildings in Russia too. I have just never seen them in person. The elevator was, an experience. You have to insert tiny 5 Tatri coin to make it move. It creaked, it groaned, and haunted house. But I really like this vibe. There is something very poetic and probably nostalgic for me as a Russian. That old Soviet decay, the peeling walls, the dim hallways, the sense of history hanging in the air. I imagine each family getting their little apartment because of working for some, I don't know, steel, metal, maybe even nuclear factory. And another thing we have to talk about is Georgian food. It was much better than I expected. In my region we have a lot of Georgian restaurants, but definitely the Georgian authentical food cuisine was much better. My favorite is most likely a Georgian kachiburi. It's like the boat-shaped bread filled with melted cheese, butter, a lot of butter, and a runny egg in the center. You're supposed to mix the egg with the cheese and tear off pieces of the crust to dip it in that thing. It's basically the definition of comfort food for me. And what's fascinating is that even though Georgia is a pretty small country, every region has its own unique cuisine and different flavors, different ingredients. Some of the regions are more like vegetarian, and you can definitely taste that diversity, and I loved it. This one, it's King David church. It's very small and beautiful. It was right next to our hotel. And one super useful tip for you: if you go to Tbilisi, get the Tbilisi metro card. You can use it for buses, the metro, and the cable cars too, like here. It's really cheap and convenient, and if you are not in the mood for public transport, taxis are also super cheap, super affordable. And here is the statue of Mother Georgia, or Garni. By the way, you know, in Georgian, mom is dada and dad is mama. It's crazy. So this one is a huge silver monument overlooking the city. One holds a bowl of wine and the other a sword. It's a symbol of Georgian spirit, warm and welcoming to friends, but ready to fight the enemies. The view from up there was just incredible. You see all of Tbilisi, the mountains, the rooftops, the river. It really makes, it's breathtaking. Right nearby is the Bridge of Peace, the famous glass pedestrian bridge. It connects the old and new parts of the city right next to Riga Park. That area is super lively, especially in the evening, but be prepared for people constantly trying to sell you boat tours on the Kura River. Hello, my friend. Boat trip, good price. Like, just say no. Say ara. No in Georgian. And Tbilisi, as I mentioned earlier, it was founded in the 5th century, and it was part of different empires over time. It's been Persian, Byzantine, Arab, Mongol, Russian. It's truly been through it all. Like a small country like that had no choice. And Georgian language also, as I mentioned, is something really special. It has its own beautiful alphabet that's unlike anything else in the world. There are 3 historical forms of the Georgian script, and the one used today is called It looks super elegant and rounded. There between calligraphy and music notes. And as I understood, the first version of Georgian script, the most ancient one, was very similar to the Armenian script back then. And as I realized, as I saw that, Georgians and Armenians really like to say that they were the first who did this, did that. Which is, I mean, when there are such small nations living next to each other, of course they would always adopt things from each other, which is fine, you know, but they like to talk about themselves as the OGs. Later that night we went to our favorite bar in Tbilisi. It had a great mix of locals and foreigners. We met a lot of friends there, and the beer was very good, both local, the Georgian and European. And the next day, our new Georgian friend, the guide that we met at the bar, took us on a day trip. And I have to give you a genuine recommendation. If you're ever in Georgia and you want a good tour, look up Georgia. It's like hello Georgia in Georgian. Georgia. They have amazing guides, great English, and our friend's name was Dimitri. Just in case you want to ask for him specifically, he's the best. And our first stop was Tbilisi, an ancient cave city that dates back to the early Iron Age. It used to be a major religious and political center. You can still see carved out homes, streets, temples, and even a functioning ancient pharmacy. What's really amazing is that this city was carved straight into the rock, no bricks, not at all, it's all stone. And the views from there, it was just like surreal. And then we drove to Garni, and at the base of the Geghard fortress, we visited a powerful monument called Requiem. It's a circular composition of 8 bronze warriors, all damaged. That was very creepy and fascinating. Some of them are missing limbs or heads. It's a memorial dedicated to Georgian heroes, symbolizing the losses the country has suffered in wars. It was originally in Tbilisi but later moved to Garni. And after that we visited the Stalin Museum. Garni is Stalin's birthplace. I haven't filmed inside of the museum, but I mean, it's not like I actually learned something new, I guess, but it was still interesting. It's filled with personal items, letters, photos, and even his private train car. It's a strange experience, kind of eerie, knowing the weight of his legacy, I guess. And later we drove to Tbilisi, the ancient capital of Georgia. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We visited Cathedral, which is considered to be one of the most sacred places in Georgia. According to tradition, it's where the robe of Christ is buried. The cathedral is massive and incredibly beautiful. It has frescoes, stone carvings, and that peaceful stillness. Georgia has a strong tradition of George architecture and iconography. Their style is very unique. You see how these almost look like comics, like a caricature, just because style was developed so many years ago, basically thousands of years ago. After that, we went to Jvari Monastery, which sits high up on a hill overlooking the point where two rivers meet, the Kura and the Arakvi. It's a small stone church from the 8th century, but the setting is just, look at this, it's just breathtaking. The view from up there, you can see all the Mtiheta below and the rivers and the valley. One thing I really liked about these tours was that they were all in English. There are a lot of Russian language tours in Georgia and Armenia, but I purposely joined the English ones. And I'm glad I did, because I met some amazing people. That's actually how I met Cynthia from Portugal. If you're watching, I miss you. Hi. Turned out she also was heading to Armenia later, and we ended up spending time together there too. Traveling is such a beautiful way to connect with people from all over the world. And we also visited the Tbilisi Botanical Garden, which is right next to the Mother Georgia statue. But the first time we went there, it was already closed. I think they shut the gates around like 6 p.m, maybe even 5. So we came back earlier another day. The garden is huge and so peaceful. Even though it was a hot day, it didn't feel like that way. Inside, the trees gave us shade, and it smelled beautiful, kind of like in Cyprus. I felt very nostalgic about my childhood. A perfect place to stroll. And you see, these are cicadas molting. They leave behind these little empty shell suits stuck to the trees. They spend most of their lives underground, like 13 or 17 years, and only come out for a few weeks to mate and then die wild. And I thought it would be nice to do some hand movements for you guys. Let me just do this little very short meditation for you. So we take a deep breath in and slowly breathe out. In, breathe out. We let our shoulders drop. Our jaw is relaxed. Feel your eyes soften and bring attention to the space around you, the sounds, the air, the temperature of the room. Again, breathe in, breathe out. Shift your focus to your body. Notice the weight of your body on the surface below you. Feel grounded, safe, supported. There's nowhere else you need to be. Nothing else you need to do. Just breathe, just be. You are here, you are now, and that's more than enough. And I want you to carry this peace with you for the rest of your day, or maybe for the rest of your night, to have a great night of sleep. And now open your eyes eyes with kindness if you close them. The meditation is over. Look at this dog. It's so adorable. It was so big and fluffy. There are so many street dogs in the city, and most of them are incredibly chill. They just nap in the shade. Most of them are very fat. They hang out in parks, wander around, like they own the place, and they are very cool. And from what I could see, they are taken care of. They are tagged or chipped, which means they've been vaccinated and sterilized. And here is a kitten, the one that I filmed earlier. And the next day I also visited the Georgian National Museum. It was very cool. My favorite part was this section with skulls of different early human species. Georgia is actually one of the most important places for studying human evolution. Some of the oldest human remains outside of Africa were found there in Tbilisi almost 2 million years ago. The natural history part was also interesting. A lot of fauna in Georgia is pretty similar to my home region, but I still found it fun to look at. There were birds, bears, wild goats, all taxidermied, or how you say taxidermied and preserved, and the goats were actually smelling like goats. I don't know if it's a cool thing or not, but I like the museum. And that was basically the last full day in Georgia. And here you could see there was a part of like national costume of all the ethnicities, about all the ethnicities that live in Georgia, but the museum was closing, so we had to rush. And the next day was our last day in Georgia. We met with one of our new local friends, and he gave us little gifts: a bottle of Georgian wine and like flavored jaja box set. It was very sweet and nice. People are kind. And then we waited for our driver to pick us up and take us to Armenia, and he was 2 hours late. But honestly, for a $10 ride to another country, we weren't going to complain. Here it's already Armenia the next day. So we spent 8 nights in Georgia and only 5 in Armenia. And I'll be honest, by the end I was pretty tired of filming, tired in general, but I still really enjoyed Armenia. It had a different vibe. Of course, it's a different country, but I really liked it. As you can see, it's like the buildings are pink or like peachy color. I don't know. So because many of them are made of tuff or tuff, Tuff, a natural volcanic stone that gives the architecture a warm pink hue. And this is one of the most iconic places in Yerevan is the Cascade Complex, a massive staircase with fountains, sculptures and gardens built in the hillside. From the top you get a great view of the city. On a clear day you can see Mount Ararat in the distance, but we couldn't. So actually Armenia is one of the oldest countries in the world with a rich heritage, and over 2,000 years of recorded history. It was also the first country ever to adopt Christianity as a state religion in the year 301, which is something they are very proud of. You can see the Armenian crosses everywhere. And the next day we joined another tour, and we just so happened to be traveling during the Armenian holiday of Vardavar. It's one of the most fun and chaotic festivals I've ever seen, honestly. So that day everyone splashes water at each other. Strangers, kids, tourists, doesn't matter. You will get soaked. It's rooted in an ancient pagan tradition honoring the goddess of love and water, but now it's just a joyful, refreshing summer celebration. And here, you can see how it was like 8 a.m. in the morning, and we already got wet. It was very, very fun. Then we went to see the Mount Ararat, but unfortunately we could only see the pinnacle. You see the white pinnacle at the top. Even though the mountain is now technically on Turkish territory, Armenians still see it as a national symbol. It's deeply tied to their identity, culture, and religion. I think I have already mentioned that on my channel, but Ararat is said to be the place where Noah's Ark came to rest after the flood. You see that mountain everywhere, on money, logos, paintings, cognac. Our driver's name was Ararat. And then we visited the Garni temple, probably one of my favorite stops on the entire trip. It's a pagan temple built in the 1st century AD, dedicated to the sun god, and it's actually the only surviving Greco-Roman style temple in the entire former Soviet Union, and of course in Armenia. It looks like something straight out of Greece, and it was made according to Greek style architecture, but again with Armenian materials, and Armenians built it. After Christianity became the official religion, most pagan temples were destroyed, but Garni survived, probably because it was so beautiful, and the royal family used it as a summer residence. So here I will play the music, and you will be able to see the dance, the national folk Armenian dance. So if you don't want to listen to the music, skip. little further to see the Symphony of Stones and Natural Wonder right below Garni. It's this incredible basalt canyon where the rock walls look like giant organ pipes. These vertical rock columns were formed by cuisine lava flows. Perfectly geometric, but it's all natural and it's huge, way bigger than I expected. It was really hot that day, and I was not sweaty. It's just because I was wet because of Vardavar. You can see how wet I was. And then we took a break for lunch at a local place where we watched them make lavash by hand. Lavash is a traditional Armenian flatbread baked in a clay oven called tanir or tandir. The dough is slapped onto the walls of the oven and cooks in like seconds. It's very thin, very soft, a little smoky. It's very nice. And lavash is also recognized by UNESCO as a part of Armenia's cultural heritage. After lunch, we visited Geghard Monastery, and it was another one of those moments, I really enjoyed that. The monastery is carved directly into the mountainside, with some of the chapels full inside of the rock. It dates back to the 4th century and was once home to relics believed to be formal of the spear that pierced Jesus. Of course, there are a few places in the world that also claim that they have this spear that pierced Jesus, but whatever. Walking through those dark stone chambers, it felt very sacred, very ancient. I really liked it. I also witnessed this little ceremony. It was beautiful. Armenia, by the way, as I mentioned, was the first country to officially adopt Christianity, and their churches reflect that deep history. They're simple, often built from stone, but filled with symbolism and beauty. You can see crosses on top of mountains everywhere. As I said, Armenians are very proud of their Christian background. We were both feeling sick sometimes. It's not like really sick, but the next day she stayed in, and it was our second to last day, and I went walking with a German guy I met earlier during our tour. And he was German, so he was into trains, and we went to the railway museum in Yerevan and checked out some of the local metro stations. The Yerevan metro is very small, just one line, but it's very clean, reliable, and kind of charming Soviet era way. And then came our last day. I only had time to visit one more museum, the History Museum of Armenia. I think it was right on Republic Square. And they have a lot of artifacts from Bronze Age jewelry and ancient manuscript. And this history is very long, complex. It was very cool, but in the museum I started feeling really unwell. Maybe it was because of the sudden change from hot weather to AC cold rooms, or maybe I was just very exhausted of this traveling. But I had to go back to the hotel, and yeah, I ended the trip kind of sick, but this vacation was still great. I don't regret a thing. Of course, I feel better now after some time. I survived this cold, and thank you very, very much for watching this vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too long or too well, it wasn't too short, that's for sure, or too boring. I guess you noticed at this time I think I'm doing better than my Istanbul Turkish vlog. And yes, let me know if you have any suggestions for my vlogs. I might go to Moscow and Volgograd in September,